Hey, yo.
Hey, yeah. So I get the point I'm making. I guess is just I don't know if Hasan actually got kicked out. I'm just seeing this at the same time you are, but I think the DNC would do something like this based on the way they how they treated Bernie. Like when you say it's not corrupt, in first of all, Democrats just in their primary process have super delegates, so that by itself is pretty corrupt. You have these like party insiders that you give votes to, and in 2016 when Hillary was running against Bernie, even when they were always tied in the polls, or even like just in delegate count, Hillary was way ahead because she had like 85% of the super delegates or something. And then in 2020, before like a key, I don't remember the exact details, but before a key primary election, I believe two of the people that were in the race dropped out at the same time and then endorsed Joe Biden. And then he won. And then Bernie after that was just so far behind.
Yeah, but you understand that one, that gives Bernie like a better shot to win. If all of those people drop out, it's just a matter of who they endorse. And the reason that they dropped out is because they could stay in the race. That's what most people think, right? They think of this and they see these people and they think, wow, like, what's the point of even dropping out? You could just stay in the race and see how it goes, and maybe you get the votes, right? That's what makes sense, is just hope that you can get as many votes as possible. Even if it doesn't look likely, just stay in and do it. But instead, what Biden's going to do is he's going to say, hey, it's pretty obvious you're not going to get the votes. It's very unlikely, almost no shot. Your best bet is to drop out now, and we will work with you. We will give you a position in our cabinet. We'll negotiate on like what's on my platform. Like I'll add something to my platform that you want on my platform, or like, you know, you can have some sort of demands that you want me to meet or something like that. But they negotiate a deal for them to drop out, and those people are not getting screwed. Bernie's not getting screwed. Those people are getting a deal that is beneficial to them, and they are taking the deal. Instead of taking their chances and leaving with nothing, they're taking the best deal and leaving with something.
But that's still pretty blatant collusion. If you got four people in the race and they all just
How's that
decide
collusion?
they decided one night before that next primary election to drop out, and that didn't help Bernie at all because then they just all endorsed Joe Biden. Then they're doing what you're saying. They're getting the deal with Joe Biden, but none of them
Right.
struck a deal with Bernie Sanders. And then that support went to
But that's
Biden,
not
and it was like
corruption.
such a quick turnaround that Joe Biden then won that primary election pretty handily, and Bernie never
Yeah, but
recovered.
how is that? What's corrupt about that?
Well, if that's not corrupt, I mean, like it's not corrupt in the sense of they're not like literally cheating, but that's definitely a colluding type activity. Like if you did that in
Why do you
business,
think if do you
it's
think
like
if
it's very anti-competitive. It's just like
do you
forming a
think that
cartel.
um let's say there was another candidate still in the race, and Kamala picks Walz uh as her vice president, but
Yeah.
there's another Democratic uh person who's part of the race still, that's still running against Kamala. Do you think it's corruption for Walz to back Kamala?
But he's already her VP.
Yeah,
Is that what you
he's
mean?
been
No,
given
but
a deal,
that's
right?
not the
He's been
same.
given a deal. Well, no, he's been given a deal. He's been offered a position. He's been given something so that he campaigns for her, that he's on the ticket with her, so that he helps her win. But you're what's the difference between these two things? Both sides are given deals. Both sides are given something that's going to benefit them, and then both sides are capable of yeah, like choosing to take the deal and back that person and give them their vote, or not, and doing something else.
I just think that the difference is the timing, and I mean, I guess like it's fine. Like if you don't see anything wrong with what happened in the 2020 Democratic primary, then that's I'm not going to be able to convince you. But the timing would be different. The fact it was like a day before the primary election, and then the fact that there were multiple parties involved, suggests that there was clearly some talk behind the scenes. It wasn't just random that
What do you mean?
in the same
You
like
mean
short
multiple
span
parties, meaning like
dropped out,
multiple groups?
endorsed like people were saying, hey, we want, like, the Democrats, there was clearly some coordination in terms of we want the Biden wing of the party to win and not the Bernie Sanders wing. So let's just kind of pull all of our support into Joe Biden at this moment. And I mean, I don't know if that doesn't sound like, I mean, I guess people can have different definitions on whether they think that is collusion or not, but I think it definitely is.
Okay. Yeah, just like that's like literally politics. Like tons of people all the time want Trump to win right now, so tons of people are backing Trump because they want him to win. There's celebrities coming out saying everybody should vote for Trump, and they're trying to influence voters to go vote for Trump. We have RFK who just dropped out so that he can endorse Trump, and he's possibly getting a position with the Trump team as well. Like this is just like a normal part of our political system. And the part that I find weird is that everybody just looks at this one time with Bernie Sanders as this really weird scenario where something crazy happened and it was so unfair, yet this is just like a standard part of our political system and the way that it always works.
Yeah, I think endorsements are fine. Like, and that does happen. There is like a lot of things that happen behind the scenes in terms of like forming alliances. But I guess the fact that it was coordinated with multiple people and the timing of it. Like, as an example, like if you were a Democratic voter though, and you're a big Bernie guy, how would you feel about this moving forward in terms of having faith in the Democrats? Because another thing, Bernie Sanders actually brought this up. I don't know if you heard it, but at his convention speech, he brought this up about like having transparent primaries.
Yeah, but that wouldn't matter all that much because people are still able to, like, so let's say, because I think somebody like I'm blanking on her name. The chick that everybody always makes fun of for the Native American stuff.
Warren.
Warren,
Elizabeth
yes.
Warren.
So Elizabeth Warren, she was somebody that I expected to back somebody like Bernie, but
right.
She didn't. She backed Biden, and there's a reason for that, and it's probably that when it comes to the last two candidates that are left, she can only pick one of them, and whichever one she picks, she's riding with them now. And she's wanting some sort of benefit out of this, right? They just spent tons of money on a campaign. They put millions of dollars into it. They've had their voters and all of these people backing them and helping them. And now that they realize there's no winning here, that they have to get something out of it. They got to get as much out of it as possible. Whichever one of those two that they pick, whether it's Biden or Bernie, they have to pick the one that's going to win. Because if they pick Bernie and then Biden wins, well, now they just literally got nothing out of this. Now they got literally nothing, and they're not going to be able, like, they just wasted a whole lot of time and didn't get anything out of it. But instead, lots of times people like Warren will say things like, oh, I don't think I'm actually capable of winning, but I'm staying in the race to influence Joe Biden. I'm going to be on the debate stage with him, and I'm going to debate him into having more progressive health care or something like that. Well, if Bernie says after a while, you know what? You don't even have to stay on the debate stage to convince me of this. I will come out with a plan tomorrow and do a press conference saying that I am doing the healthcare plan that you want me to do. Well, this is what her voters want. So now the money that was spent on her campaign is well spent when Biden, the person who's likely to win, comes out with the policy that all of her voters wanted from her. So now, yes, him coming out and saying this is part of my platform now, this is something that that we're going to try to do when we get in office. Now, yes, now she doesn't need to stay in the race anymore. Now it makes sense for her to drop out and back him.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I just we did disagree on, I guess, the timing and the fact that it looked like it was coordinated.
When you say coordinated, do you think that like Pete Buttigieg was calling Warren and Warren was calling, like, all of them were like sitting in a room or something? Or do you think it was more like, okay, we got through the first four states, it's obvious nobody has a shot against Biden, and so now that we have this,
except for Bernie.
Okay, let's say except for Bernie, he stayed in, so he was still there. He stayed way longer
Yeah.
than the rest of them, and so yeah, so
Yeah.
except
Like
for
at this
Bernie,
point
the
too. At this
rest of
point
them
too.
who
Like I
didn't
don't.
have a
Sorry. Go
chance,
ahead.
they all yeah, except for Bernie, everybody else who didn't have a chance dropped out and chose one of the candidates to back. At that point,
Yeah.
it made sense from the point that they did it.
Yeah. That. Yes, I do. I do think that happened. Like there was definitely coordination. Um, on these things too. Like even if there is not direct coordination, it's sort of game theory that you can almost like wink at each other. But this one's so obvious that I think it was.
Well, so
Yeah, I
what
think
makes
there
it
was just
obvious?
like some
What makes
coordination
you
where they
think
say,
there's
"Yeah, we're going
coordination?
to drop out and we're going to endorse." But like from the perspective though of someone who supports like progressive policies, that I think is a very tough look. And like Bernie still mentioned that just whatever 3 days ago when he had his speech. So it's
Yeah,
clearly still a problem, I think.
so when you say there's coordination, again, are you saying the Biden team is just offering them a deal to drop out? Or are you saying like Pete and Warren and Biden and all of these people are all sitting in a room planning this together? Which one of those two are you saying is
The
coordination?
second one, the offering
Okay.
of the
And
deal is
what,
fine. That's politics. That happens all the time.
okay.
Like that just happened with
eh,
RFK and Trump. But
sure.
when
So,
and it was the
what evidence do
timing.
you
It's
have
the
of this?
timing as well. Like if you remember, it happened all very quickly. It was
Yeah. So,
like again, this is 4 years ago now, but it was like a day or two. Drop out, endorse, boom, next primary, and after that, Biden just like shot ahead, and Bernie could never catch up. Maybe Biden would have won anyway, but that part I think a lot of people rightfully will look at, and they did. People were freaking out online, but what are you going to do? People have a problem with that, and I think they're correct to have a problem with that.
why though? Because it is better for the party. It's better for everybody if all of the smaller candidates drop out early. Normally within the first 3 states, I think it took 4 this time for the primary for all of them to drop out. But yeah, it was even like a little late when a lot of them dropped out, when it was obvious that they were only at like, what was it, like 4% for some of them. And so yeah, it made sense that like they probably should have dropped out earlier. Yet they all dropped out around the time that you would expect them to, based on the polling and based on the votes that were there, and that they did what we would all expect them to do based on the scenario that they were in. So when we're looking at this and we have this expectation of them to drop out, and then they do, what, how do we get to like they're all working together?
Because you say it's better for everybody. If there's 4 people running, and the day before an election, 2 of them drop out and endorse the one candidate, and the other person has, out of those 4, has 0 endorsements, that's not better for everybody. I think that's certainly not better if you're a Bernie voter, and it's not better for like the confidence in the process moving forward that something like that could happen. Like maybe Cortez in 4 years, a similar thing happens to her. I don't know, but I think it's a problem
Wait,
for sure. And then again, like
no, but it is better. It is better for it's better for Bernie as well, because a lot of the people,
why is it better? How's that possibly better for Bernie?
less people is better for both of them. Less people
Yes,
is
but
better for both of them.
you're in your analysis right now. You're leaving out the part of the timing and the fact that it was like it looks very coordinated, that there was the endorsement at the same time.
Oh,
For
yeah,
Biden.
yeah, but we're talking about one thing at a time. Like you're saying them dropping out is bad for him. No, them dropping out is good for the party. So people should drop out. So what I'm saying is,
On its
with
own,
that thought
sure.
in mind, yeah, so I'm saying with that thought in mind, that it's good for them to drop out, and it's good for them to drop out the earlier the better, right? The more states that get 2 candidates instead of 7 or whatever it was. So the earlier they do it, the better. And so they all drop out around the time that we would expect them to, and that this is like, yeah, the thing that is best for the party, so that there's only 2 candidates running against each other, and the votes aren't getting split up between 7 people anymore. So what outside of that, like what are we like, once we have that in our logic that this is like the best thing for the party to drop out, now yes, we would expect them to drop out and endorse somebody, and endorse the person who's going to get them the best deal.
Right, but not the same person, and not the exact same time, and not one day before an election. But I think we've kind of I think we just don't agree. I think we kind of. I mean, if you want to keep going on this, but yeah, that's my problem, is just like the timing of it, and the fact that it certainly looked coordinated. And I
Okay,
think
yeah, I
if you're
just say
Bernie, if
for
you're a
me,
progressive Democratic person and you want like a progressive, hopefully one day a progressive president. I mean, maybe Kamala, she's pretty progressive. We'll see, but I think from that perspective, it's not as a progressive voter. That's not good.
yeah, for
I'm
me,
not. I'm not a
it's
progressive voter, by the way. I'm just saying. From that
yeah,
person.
but for me, I would look at like I need a lot more like evidence than something like that, right? Like I can't look at somebody who just got convicted of like tons of pedophilia charges and corruption charges and they found his pedophile island and then find out that the cameras turned off at the point where he killed himself and say, "Whoa,
What are you
that's
talking
too
about? What are you
suspicious."
talking about right now? Are you talking about Epstein? What are
I'm
you talking
talking.
about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Epstein. And so, like, why? Oh, you know, there's all these conspiracy theories about him. Not because there's any information that actually leads us to believe that somebody else killed him. There's no suspect. There's no there's no evidence that someone else did it. There's just suspicious circumstances that make people say, you know what? I believe he had to have been killed by somebody else. But you don't have any
Right.
information to say that he was killed by somebody else. And I'm saying the same thing here
Right.
is that like
Are you
you're just
saying that
naming
like
suspicious
are you saying that
circumstances.
there could just be a coincidence that they dropped out at the same time and endorsed Biden at the same time? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not even saying it's a coincidence. I'm saying that it's expected. And I'm saying that if somebody's just convicted of all of these fucking pedophilia charges and shit, yeah, I would expect them to kill themselves. Like that's there's nothing left for them on this earth. There is nothing left for them here. It's time to go out and leave it at that. And I would expect that guy to kill themselves, just the same as these
Right.
people. Yeah, I would expect them all
Okay,
to
I
drop
see your
out at
point.
that
Yeah,
point.
and this point you're making, I kind of agree with. Like, it's just if it's like obviously politics is like if you get into politics and expect it to all be fair, you're probably in the wrong thing.
I guess. Yeah, I don't. That's. I mean, that is probably the more fundamental disagreement. Is I just don't think it's unfair. But.
Yeah, and I guess on that, if you're making your point like that, whatever, I see your point. It's just kind of like the cutthroat nature of politics.
Okay.
There's
All right, fair
you want to do can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.